Everyone, Sev here. Today I'm here to go over my newest favorite Yu-Gi-Oh Master Duel deck. It's Spright. It's finally here in Master Duel, and it's honestly one of the decks I really wanted to play in real life before the elf hit on the Forbidden and Limited list. However, it was just never quite in my price range. I sort of built a version of the deck without Hyperia, and it involved Dark Beckoning Beasts and opening the Spirit Gates, and it also involved the Malice Severus cards too. So it was really great. It was really fun. So when I heard that they came to Master Duel, I was like, I knew I had to play them, and I literally spent the whole day building the deck. I broke it down. I crafted all the cards I needed. It's not like the most ideal version. I'd probably put in instead of the chalices, I'd probably put in triple tactics or something. But yeah, this deck is really fun. It's probably going to be meta for a little while before the tier elements come. But yeah, I definitely recommend you check out this deck. It definitely is really fun. Extremely chaotic too, but there's a ton of different variants. There's the runic variant, there is the live twin variant, which I actually played against. And you'll see in this video I actually played against. But yeah, let's get right into the deck profile. So starting off with the biggest staple of Master Duel is 3 copies of Max C. This card ends duels in some cases. Like, you can get so much advantage from this card, it's insane. And then you got the little Malice Severus package, 1 spoon, 3 fork. 3 copies of Hyperia, you summon this card, you draw a card, very simple. 3 copies of Cap Shell, 3 copies of Spright Blue, and then 3 copies of Spright Jet. The coolest part about the Sprites is any level 2 monster is a starter, including the Jet, or including the Sprites. So 1 Pixies, 3 Red, 3 Carrot, and then 3 Ash Blossom is just like a generic hand trap. 3 copies of Forbidden Chalice as just a impermanence substitute. Droplet at 3, Starter at 2, 1 Gamma Burst, and triple Smashers. And then for the extra deck, we have Daigusto Phoenix, number 96 Dark Mist, number 65 Degen Buster, number 43 Manipulator of Souls, and then we have, Sky Cavalry Centuria, then 1 Cat Shark, 1 Onibimaru Soul Sweeper, 2 copies of Gigantic Spright to round out the Xyz monsters, 1 copy of Nightmare Cerberus, and then 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Dark the Dark Charmer, 2 copies of Spright Elf, and then 1 copy of Axis Code Talker in case we need to really close out games. One real quick, I guess, little bit of an aside, I guess, would be we don't actually have Spright Sprint currently in Master Duel, so this deck, again, there's definitely cards you could cut, like Manipulator Souls, you could easily cut that for a Spright Sprint, but when Spright Sprint does come out, you know exactly which card to cut. But again, this is a little bit more of a fun deck list, a little bit something like a little bit goofy, but yeah, let's get into the duels now, and you'll see this deck rock. Alright, game 1 of the little, I guess, deck showcase, I'd say. Not really a deck profile, but deck showcase, I guess, is actually against live twin Spright, if I remember correctly. And as you know, any level 2 monster and a Spright is full combo because we can get the Gigantic and start summoning them out. We go into Gigantic immediately, and this deck is actually Nibiru proof because of Gigantic Spright. Summoning the boy actually makes it to where neither player can summon monsters except level 2, rank 2, or link 2 monsters. So Gigantic basically turns off Nibiru and also Phantasme too. We get the Smashers in order for more interruption on our opponent's turn. We make the Degen Buster, which is a monster negate. We link those 2 into the Spright Elf, and then Spright Elf immediately brings back Spright Red, which is another monster negate. So count the interactions. We have an Elf, a Smashers, a Degen Buster, and a Red. That is 4 interruptions on our turn, with Elf making it 6 because we revive back the Carrot on our opponent's turn after he reveals that he's playing Live Twin. He could be playing any Live Twin variant, but he later does show us that he does play Sprites in his list, so he is playing Live Twin Spright. He gets the live twin home, which again, this won't be a problem. He normal summons the Kill, which we activate the Max C, and Max C will draw us into further interruption. This will be like at least like an 8 interruption board right here, which is absolutely nuts. We carrot tribute the elf because we have the extra negation fodder. Maxi resolves, so they summon the extender. We get a Ash and then a starter because they summon their red, and then he overlays into his gigantic sprite. And here I decide to use my Degen Buster negate, so this way my red has something that it could viably use to stop his red, which would stop my Degen Buster. So now my red can either tribute my Degen Buster or my carrot. I choose carrot for some reason, but I'm not too certain. But yeah, red will tribute the carrot and stop his red from stopping my Degen Buster, which stops his gigantic sprite. Really confusing, but ultimately I negated his negate, which would have negated my negate. Then he summons out the Kill, which he links into the the red link, which this duel will soon end as my opponent does not have enough resources, and he'll banish to draw a card, which will Ash just to make sure he doesn't get the resources. And then my opponent will try to special summon it back, which will reveal the set Spright Smashers, which our opponent will scoop, and that'll be game 1. Game 2 is against Runic Stun, which was an interesting matchup because I'm not all too comfortable playing against stun decks. But I knew as soon as I saw all this, I was like, okay, this will be like an actual player. It's not like some dude who just got off of story mode and decided to go on ladder, and I'm about to take them to Pound Town with Spright. So he shows me that he's playing Runic, and I figured he might be playing Runic Spright, but I also later see that he discards Messenger of Peace, and then that's when I know. I was like, okay, this dude isn't playing Runic Spright, he's just playing Runic Stun. So honestly, snore, but honestly we can easily work through this, even with this hand, which is pretty suboptimal. He does make a Vanity's, Fiend, and we get an Hyperia off our draw. We droplet, pitch the fork, and then we negate. He does banish the top 4 cards of our deck, which if he did banish Gamma Burst would have made it to where we wouldn't have been able to game him, but either way, I wasn't really looking to game him this turn, as I wanted to kind of play the slow roll and kind of see if I could get him to waste his resources whilst not really wasting my own. He golden droplets, which actually is sort of smart, which ends up actually kind of, I don't want to say saves him, but definitely makes it harder for me to kill him this turn. Again, summon a bunch of sprites, we link them off into the elf, which I don't necessarily get why I made this play right here. Making Phoenix would have been just a better play. We could have discarded the spare elf. I don't know. We ended up reviving back the red. Should have overlaid with the jet and the elf to make the gigantic sprite detach, summon blue effect to grab the pixies, and then we smashers, banishing the spare jet and the carrot, banishing the Messenger of Peace, special summoning the pixies actually. We overlay into Onibimaru Soul Sweeper, which ends up baiting his Munin negate, which ends up benefiting us as we can return a banished carrot from our banished zone into our deck. So I mean, the more you know. And then after this, we'll go to battle phase and beat over the Fiend with Pixies, and then smack for a huge 32 with the Gigantic, which will link into our second copy of Elf. And we'll pass our turn there with our opponent only having the Runic Fountain. He'll draw for turn, and I don't know what he draws into. I think it's... he must top deck something. I think it's Magic Cylinder because he does end up flipping it. We summon back the Hyperia, draw a card, we draw into a jet, pretty nice. We can get our plays rolling. We elf, summon back the blue. Blue will add any sprite we want, which we add carrot, because I'm very suspicious of him at this point, because carrot will be able to stop whatever spells and traps he has. Jet will add the Gamma Burst. Hyperia and elf into gigantic sprite for the last time this duel. And then I decided to kind of just be a jackass and summon Cap Shell. I was like, you know what? We'll flex on this dude. We make Cat Shark, ironically, and then we cat shark effect, detaching the cap shell. Cap shell will draw us a card, normal summoning the spoon, and then we make Daigusto Phoenix. Again, really dugging on this guy, kind of just rubbing it in that we won. Phoenix will detach, target itself, and Gamma Burst will make it to where we almost game ourselves, but thankfully we kept the carrot, which meant we weren't going to be killing ourselves with our own gigantic Spright anytime soon. And then we smack him for game, which this was a pretty cool game. Again, this kind of just shows the power level of this deck. This deck is insane and truly an amazing deck. On to our last game, which is kind of like a, I don't want to say like a beatdown, but it's not fair. So the final match of this little showcase is, I hate to say it, but it's against Dark Magician. Yeah, this is kind of why you feel bad for going into like low ranking on the ladder with like a meta deck and you just absolutely take people to Pound Town. Like, it's not even fair. So Jet will get us the starter after we normal summon Cap Shell. At this point we overlay for gigantic Spright. And I don't know the exact reasoning behind this, but if you detach Cap Shell from Spright, it won't actually activate the effect. So I do summon the Hyperia, draw a card. Starter will get me into blue. Blue will get me Pixies because I have red and carrot already. I link Gigantic and Hyperia into the elf, I believe. And then I summon out red and carrot. Or no, first I revive the Cap Shell because I want to be funny. And I make Degen Buster. Like, I make the full board. Like, this is kind of like the nut board. Like, the Live Twin guy, that was the nut board through an awkward hand. This is a nut board through, like, basically, like, a god hand. Well, actually, no, never mind. That was also a god hand, too, I'm not gonna lie. He activates a Dark Magician card, and I realize, oh, this isn't gonna be fun for him. Summon back Hyperia, because I draw a card. At this point, he ends his turn, because he has nothing else to do. No, there's really nothing else he can do. I draw for turn into another Chalice, and I decide, you know what, I'll put you out of your misery, my brother in Christ. He flips his Eternal Soul. We chain Carrot. We tribute the Degen Buster specifically because we want to destroy the Eternal Soul, because we want to make sure it doesn't cause any problems. Elf will revive Jet, and Jet will add the Gamma Burst from deck to hand. If you notice, I'm adding Gamma Burst when I have the opportunity to kill, because it makes killing so much easier, because all your level 2, rank 2, or link 2s just gain 14. Like, it's amazing. Then we make Spright with the Carrot and the Elf. Gains 32. Hyperia and Jet into Cat Shark. And then Cat Shark will detach from itself, targeting the gigantic Spright, doubling its attack. We'll move into the battle phase. We'll decide to flex, because why not? Gamma Burst boosts everything. We smack for a whole bunch of damage. And that is game. Honestly, playing this deck and smacking my opponent for thousands of points of damage in one turn, honestly, it really does make me feel like this monkey right here. It makes me feel happy. It turns on the neurons inside my brain. So, yeah, this is probably going to be my deck of choice for Master Duel. This will probably make me want to get back into Master Duel, to be honest. Playing this deck is so fun. It's unbelievably fun. But I hope you guys all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye.